Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, the game dude. But I'm not really bad, if that's what you're thinking and everything, so sorry to disappoint you. But I'm actually making my first ever video to show off. Right now, I don't have any equipment and everything to do reviews right now, but I really am wanted to show you that I really am serious in making this. So my first video happens to be, well, my video game collection, so I guess we'll see. Um, yeah, we'll start off with a few things. The first one happens to be one of my favorite what's it called? Uh, a Remedy, one of the Remedy classics. Happens to be Max Payne and everything. I like all the games, but I have to pick a favorite one. My favorite would be three, but I'm showing you the first one because of the first one I ever played. And ended up falling in love with it through the first one, even though how dated it is, gameplay wise and graphics wise. Using the 3D realms and everything. But I gotta say, what kept me going was the story, the characters, and everything. I loved it, loved every single bit of it, and everything. Even though some people like the second one better, I always like the third one a bit more. Even though some people didn't like it, and some people don't consider it canon because Remedy didn't make it, but Remedy gave the okay for them, gave the okay for Rockstar to make it. So, in my personal idea, I kind of like the third one a bit better, and I like it for the controversial reason I'll get into later. Very controversial, but Um, yeah, this is a pretty good game. My next one happens to be a series of Rockstar, another series of Rockstar's, IP, which happens to be, of course, Red Dead. And the first one I had, which is of course right here, which is Red Dead Revolver, the one people tend to forget that happened because it didn't really have anything to do with the first two games and everything. This is really the first, and you can tell. But I like it, even though it's not as open world and everything. It's still like the best one I've played, especially. Yeah, Capcom didn't know what they lost until they sold it off. Yeah, it's hard to believe Capcom used to own Red Dead. But I liked it because I liked the way the style in the game was, even with the graphics. It still felt like I was playing. It was almost like the equivalent of a Sergio Leone West Classic, like like the Good, Bad, the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, especially with the way how the camera, especially if you look at it, is like does the usual Western stuttering, like has the weird black lines on the camera. It's not annoying really, but it just makes it adds to the experience of the whole Western. You're part of the whole dirty part of the Wild West, and of course it's a bit more rare because unlike the other two where you play just one character, you end up playing a side of I think three, maybe four if you count that one level in Mexico. But yeah, I liked it even though some people tend to forget about it. But it happens to be one of the greats. But the one that actually really jump started it all was not just Revolver, but of course Red Dead Redemption. As you can see, I had the Game of the Year edition, you know, and everything. Funny story was the fact that I actually didn't actually like or even respect Red Dead Redemption back then because at the time I didn't really appreciate it or how good a game like this could be. So don't hate on me that. But at the time, I didn't really open into it until I was like 17 or 18 years old because at the time, during that time, I only had played GT and thought that it was only the best. But I finally played at 16. It's like around 18 years old. I finally decided to pick this game up at a local game store, and boy was I wrong. Boy was I wrong. And guess what? I'm glad I was wrong because it ended up being one of the greatest game I've played. Especially the story, John Marston, especially how it makes you guessing like what happened in the past and everything. Seeing how dirty the Wild West was, even though it took place in 1911, which by the time the Wild West was over, but at the same time, it's nice to see the end of it. Of it, the story and everything kept me guessing, kept me intrigued and involved in it. And as you can see, I didn't play Undead Nightmare yet. I've been planning to, but I've been busy with the other game, which, as you know, is also the greatest Red Dead game, which happens to be, of course, Red Dead 2. Despite it being a prequel, really, I liked it because of the fact that, I haven't really gone far into the game yet, so I can't really give you my full speculation on it. But at the same time, I liked it because of the graphics, the storytelling. I'm liking Arthur Morgan as a character right now. I'm still at chapter 2 or 3, I think, probably 2. But as you can see, that I'm liking it so far. Very attention to detail game I've ever seen in my life. Even though it's surprising me, especially it's too bad that Dan and especially Leslie Benz left the project shortly after this. Especially Dan after this one. Makes me sad because of the way Rockstar state is nowadays. And there's a reason why some people think that this game was like the last game Rockstar would ever make, like their magnum opus. And let's just hope that when GTA 6 come out, we'll be proven wrong. But at the same time, if it isn't, we'll still have this game to appreciate and like. But it was my favorite. As you can see, I have the special edition. Well, I don't have the ultimate edition because I never played Red Dead Online. I didn't plan to, but after seeing what happened, or how Rockstar did, I don't think there's any reason to play it anymore. But at the same time, it won't discourage me. I probably will play it soon later down the road, but most likely online, probably on my Steam, then probably on Xbox, really. But yeah, I have the special edition. It was like $100. Really, was it worth the price? Yeah, not really. Not really. But at the same time, it was $100 because there are more Ultimate Editions than there are Special Editions. In fact, Rockstar sells the Ultimate Edition more than a Special Edition. I wondered why, but I think it's because it had to do with the fact that there are some things in this one that they kind of cut from the Ultimate Edition. I think maybe like the bank robbery mission was the one where the things cut from the Ultimate Edition. I don't know why they cut it off, but I have it. Used all the codes up, so I'm enjoying it, especially getting early access to the guns in story mode earlier than the game expected me to. I really am enjoying it. Really good. So yeah, that's one of the franchises games I own. The other one I own, hold on. The other ones I happen to own all different really. The other one I own is of course it happens to be my favorite. It happens to be granddaddy of first-person shooter. That is, of course, Doom. As you can see, I have Doom 3 BFG edition. To me, this is like the best version of the first, not only of Doom 3, but of the first 2 games, because you can see it has the first 2 Doom games in here. I know some people have the Slayers collection now, but the difference is with Slayer collection, you actually didn't have the first 2-3 games on disc. Actually, you actually only had Doom 2016, and you had to have one of those cards with codes on them in order to play the first 3 games. And sadly, like I said, there's not that many much of that out there that has the codes being unused. But that's why some people probably ask me which version I should play. It should be this one, because this one has the first 2 games and the 3rd game all in the same disc. Yep, all in the same disc. And of course, yeah, it's pretty good. I know some people like the first version of Doom 3 on PC and even on Xbox, the original Xbox, because of the fact that it adds more to the scary factor. Your flashlight could be used, as a melee. But admittedly, when I was trying to play it, it really didn't really it kind of got me more frustrated than it did. And it did, excite me and horrify and everything, because the fact that I always have to keep switching from the flashlight to the gun is kind of annoying, because of the fact that having to be switching guns in the middle of the battle, especially when you have your difficulty on hard mode and everything, kind of makes it more frustrating than it does. And horrifying was a good experience, really. That's why in Doom 3, the 3rd Doom game, and BFG edition, it made it so the flashlight is attached to your suit and everything, which actually helped a lot in my case, because it helped keep it more horrifying, and at the same time, didn't make it frustrating for me at all. But yeah, this is like my favorite version. Like I said, if I had to pick a version, it'd probably be this one, especially the BFG edition. You should probably get this one, because not only includes BFG 3, it also includes the Lost Mission, which is one of the few DLCs of Doom 3 there was. Yeah, I think it was just one. I think that's it. But yeah, my favorite. The other one happens to be a certain franchise introduced to me by a certain pyro YouTuber, if you know who I'm talking about, and that happens to be the Kane and Lynch, 1 and 2. Now, even though he didn't talk much about Kane and Lynch 1, I played it because out of curiosity, I'm wondering what it was about, and playing it, well, it was actually not that bad. While I agree with some of the reviews back then, they wasn't really had glitches and everything, and gameplay wise, it was like very very clunky and everything. But considering the fact it was made by IO Interactive themselves, that's something to come to expect, especially if you play the Hitman series. Even their best Hitman games even still had glitches, and it still does to this day, really. But I think that's what makes the charm of it. But at the same time, it can get really annoying, really. But so what's come to expect from this Kane and Lynch game is the same way. I liked it and the story and everything. The story, while not being very good, it's still a very, very, very solid and a very good game. And yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. I only paid $8 for it, so that's why I'm not as mad or anything or upset. Meanwhile, Dog Days. Meanwhile, if they have advertisements for $20, I would have still paid for it because this is like the best one, the best game I've ever played. Because unlike the first game, Dead Man, Dog Days was actually a pretty good game. Yeah, sure, it had the same problems with the glitches and everything, but in fact, it's IO Interactive, who's, what's come to expect from them. But yeah, I ended up playing. I played it, loved it, loved the story even more. I even loved how the shadiness and dirtiness of Hong Kong. Loved it. Loved Kane and Lynch as a character, even though I like Lynch more than Kane because at least with Lynch anyway. Lynch, he has several mental problems and doesn't really have anybody to care for and everything. And like Kane here, who wants to keep doing bad stuff just because, I don't know why. Even though he keeps saying it's for his daughter and everything, even though I think that's still, what's that word? Oh, I know, bullshit. He doesn't. That's why I kind of like Lynch more. That's why I like Dog by Dog is because you get to play as him more often. But at the same time, that's not to say I hate Kane's character. In fact, I actually like his model in the second game than doing the first one because in the first one, he looked like he was almost bald and everything. He didn't look very convincing to me as a bad character. But when I look at him in 3, it fits so well with him and everything. And sometimes I tend to forget that Kane's British. Sometimes everybody else tend to forget it because he lost his accent years ago. Especially when he moved to America in the first game, became a police officer. But I like how he looks in the second one more than I did in the first one. It's what I think what he looks like than he does in the first game. And yeah, despite the fact that many bad things in the second game, it's actually the way more better one, story wise and character wise. So if I was to say something, play the second one, but only play the first one if you want to know about the characters in the first one. But at the same time, like you said, it's not really mandatory to play the first one because the second one doesn't really mention it that much. Only like one line of dialogue, and that's it. That's it, really. And the next one happens to be a franchise which I also remember playing as a kid. That happens to be Call of Duty. As you can see, this one has no cover on it, but as you can tell by the name, it's World at War. Probably the most underrated COD game, and the best World War II one at that. Not the 2018 one, man, that sucked. But yeah, this one's good. I have all the zombie maps in it. I have Varuk, I have Shinonuma, I also have Der Riese, all in the game, all in my Xbox. But yeah, it's a pretty good game. Veteran mode, of course, man. Veteran mode. Veteran mode on World at War took years off my life because all those NPCs chucking grenades at you can get annoying. But admittedly, I was playing it. I was still having a good time with the story. Kept me involved. I love the voices of Keith Sutherland, Gary Oldman. They were pretty good in it. They were pretty good, especially Gary Oldman. But yeah, best graphics. Graphics still hold even for a 2008 game. And yeah, like I said, it's the best one. But the one I actually consider not really better, but it's still as good as is, of course, Black Ops 1. This one I like more because not only it has a better cast and everything, it's because I also liked I like the main character Alex and everything. I like Woods. I even like Bowman. Yeah, Ice Cube should have been in more games, voice acting in more games. But hey, it worked. He worked in this game. It's too bad that even in Cold War he wasn't mentioned. But then again, it was pretty much as Cold War was a sequel to this one, not so. He's still dead in this one. I like the actor of Woods more and everything. It's a shame he wasn't hired back in Cold War either. I liked the actor who played Alex Mason. I forget the actor's name. He was also in Avatar and everything. I think it was Sam something. It was called Sam something. Sam Worthington. I don't think that's it. It was Sam something. I liked him. He's pretty good. And also in this one, I also have all the map DLC, zombie maps too. I even have Ascension, that jungle one. I forget what it's called. I have Moon. I also have the BO1 versions of the original maps from World of War, which makes you think why I have the original ones too. Is because at the same time, even though graphics wise they're different, even gameplay wise they're very different. That's why I kind of like playing each one differently. But if I had to pick my favorite, probably the BO1 versions of it, but only a bit because unlike because you don't really play the World at War, you don't really have the World at War guns in the zombie maps, which is kind of a shame, except for the ones on the walls. It's too bad though. But if I had to pick my favorite map from BO1, it'd probably be. It's pretty much a tie between Ascension and Kino der Toten, the map it comes with. But yeah, it's a pretty good game. And then there's the one that people say it's the outlier game, and maybe the one that doomed the franchise to begin with for a while, which is, of course, Black Ops 2. Admittedly, I liked it. I really much liked it. Yeah, sure, you can see some of the shortcomings from the later games, especially from Advanced or Infinite Warfare. Even BO3, even 4, which doesn't even have a single player mode, which doesn't make sense. But, I have this one was pretty good. Story wise, it's pretty good. You actually have multiple choice here. Some people tend to forget it was even in the game because people tend to forget. But even though this game is one of the first games that makes you like choices in the game. The other one happened to be World at War, but that's only because that's more subtle in World at War. In this one, you make story choices that actually change the game and how different endings you get. And I know the good ending isn't canon because of the third and fourth game does, but since I never really don't plan on playing the third or fourth game, I'll stick with the good ending here. I almost have every zombie map from this game. The only one I'm missing is Origins right now, which I'm planning on getting soon, hopefully before the Xbox Live Store shuts down, which is sad. But if I had to pick a favorite so far from the zombie maps, it'd probably be Transit. But the reason why I'm picking Transit is because of the fact that I've actually gotten used to where the secrets are, where to find the jet gun and everything. It's a bit more enjoyable. But if I had to pick another one, it'd probably have to be Die Rise. But the reason why is because Die Rise because it's a bit more easy to navigate, even though there's 3 elevators. But at the same time, But like I said, zombie maps and BO2 are either hit or miss, pretty much. That's why I like Transit a bit more. I like the characters in BO2 and everything, even though some of them are really paper thin in some points, including this guy. He's a bit more paper thin on like Woods and everything, but I can't really blame him. I like Michael Rooker though in playing that, even though he wasn't actually in the other Call of Duty game Black Ops 1, but in the zombie DLC, which was Call of the Dead, which was the other one I actually had. I meant to say that, but I forget. But and Treg obviously liked him because they brought him back. But I like BO2, even though sure that's why people call it the outlier game, because even though it was one of the great games next to BO1, it was the one that kind of doomed the franchise for a bit. Even though right now it's still in the toilet, kind of a bit until BO6 comes out. But I guess we'll see. Let's see. Hold on for a second. Okay, the next one is the most underrated game I've ever played, and the best one that even you should play, even if you don't like military shooters, because guess what? It's not a military shooter either, and of course, being Spec Ops: The Line. Yep, all Spec Ops: The Line. Anyone who's ever played the game knows how good this game is, but to anybody who hasn't played it, I implore you to really, really buy this game and really, really play it, especially the physical edition, because the reason why is because right now it's not on Steam right now because 2K decided not to relicensed the music that's in the game, really, which was, I think they used a bunch of Vietnam War songs in it. I think that's why it got taken down from Steam, because and that's what the licensing was for. So I really probably have to get the Xbox 360 or PS3 version because they're very, very good. And of course, you own it forever. But yeah, even though if you look at the cover, you'll think, oh, it's just your average military D-list shooter. But guess what? That's kind of the whole thing. It tricks you into thinking it is, and until, well, it isn't. Well, like I said, no spoilers here. But it really is, one of the best games. Ones that really are intense and unique, as IGN puts it. Like I said, deceptive advertising right there, but that's kind of the point with the game. But yeah, play it and you'll like it and you'll be surprised. You'll really be surprised. I really can't do this game justice. There are many other videos that do it way better than me. The ones I have is just either games I have played or I haven't played yet, or are planning to, or are in the middle of right now. And one of them happens to be, of course, Far Cry 2. As you can see, it's a very bare bones box right here. And yeah, the person didn't really take care of this, but I liked it because of the fact that, it has the best gameplay, best graphics and everything, best attention to detail when it comes to guns, cars, models, players, enemies, factions, and everything. People say 3 is better, but it's better in story-wise, because admittedly, as good as Far Cry 2 is, the story is kind of story light, despite being Far Cry. The game that came before Far Cry 1 had a better story in it, and it was being better. Even though, kind of like Spec Ops: The Line, it tried being a lot like Heart of Darkness, i.e. Apocalypse Now, but Spec Ops: Line did it way better than Far Cry 2 because you can tell it tried. It's just the difference is, it's just Far Cry 2 happens to be more open world than Spec Ops is, so yeah, there's that. But what really held it together was the gameplay, the graphics, and of course the attention to detail on guns, cars, people, and everything. Your own actions and everything. Pretty good. The one I have here is, of course, Red Faction Guerrilla. Obviously, one of the best Volition games, next to Saints Row. And yeah, even though like this game, even though kind of like Far Cry 2, it doesn't have it has really story it's very story light. What kept it together was the gameplay, and of course the destruction mechanics, because it was the best one. Trust me, I had a blast playing all the way, seeing how much I could destroy, how much I can just leave, the carnage I can leave behind and everything. Even though it kind of sounds sadistic, but but that's Guerrilla. It happens to be one of the best and everything. And even though, like I said, the story and characters are pretty very light. In fact, you probably have little to no things to know about them, especially your main character for a little bit. But at the same time, like I said, what will keep you intrigued is, like I said, the destruction mechanic and gameplay, because it is really the best. Especially for an Xbox 360 game, yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it doesn't really hold back and everything. Almost everything in the game is constructed. The only thing that isn't really is the map itself, really, because you need to have you need to get around some way, one or another. Yeah, but speaking of Volition, another game, of course, I have for them is, of course, Saints Row 1 and 2. As you can see, I have the double pack, which is some people say is the best pack because it has the first 2 games and everything. It's too bad it never came with the DLCs. That would have been better and obviously greater. But as you can see, I only played the first one. I'm still in the middle of playing the second one right now. I played the first one. I liked it, especially for a game in 2006. It was pretty much very detailed, the most customizable, and everything. And like I said, I'm in the middle of the second one, but it's even better, even and with better graphics and everything. Sorry, but but yeah, I have really no bad things to say about the first 2. If you're wondering if I had the third or fourth one, not really, because like everybody else, I heard it kept getting worse after the third one. And I did used to own the fourth one somewhere, but I ended up selling it because, no joke, about 50% into the game, I actually got bored and I quit it, and I never picked the game up after that. I had sold it off. Yeah, I know that kind of sounds bad and everything, even though I never gave it a chance, but I kind of technically did give it a chance, but it's just it wasn't really exciting me, like everything. And when I ended up playing it first, so guess what? I played it all instantly. Even in the Saints Row, the first one, even though after the story ended and everything, I couldn't play anymore. I went back to a previous load game, and playing as much as I can before I ended up completing the last mission. And as for the second one, like I said, I'm really enjoying it more. The second one, it really is better because with better, more song options and everything, cars, variations, even more customizations from everything from cars to people to you and everything. I like it more. I like it more. But like I said, I wouldn't give my full review until the end, until I finish it. And I haven't finished it yet. And the next one is of course another series from 2K that they really screwed over. And then of course I'm talking about Mafia, and as you can tell, I have Mafia 2. I don't have the first game on PC, even though the first game on PC, which is the original 2002 one, was good. I don't have that one because they're pretty hard to find and on Steam. I haven't gotten it on Steam yet, but I'm planning to later in the year. But as you can see, I started with the second one, not knowing the first one and everything, and I ended up liking it. I thought it was underrated. I was shocked that many people appreciate the Mafia series more than more than the um, more than GTA or anything. But come to think of it, there were some problems with the game and everything. Not because most of it coming down to the fact that 2K kind of rushed Chesek, i.e. Illusion Softworks, which was their original name. The key's name Chesek Studio. They rushed them into production and everything. They ended up having to scrap a lot of things and everything. It ended up being much an unfinished game, really. Yeah, it's just like. And even besides that, and this is also another controversial opinion, but I really, really, really didn't like Vito as a sympathizing character much. I said sympathizing character. As a main character, he's pretty good. He actually had swagger. He's voice acted pretty good by the guy who pretty much is almost in every Mafia game, especially the third one. But but as a sympathizing character, I never really sympathized with him because because throughout the story he became a mafia also because it was easier and everything in life because he didn't want to be like his father. He says a nobody, which like I said, any sympathizing I gained from him was really 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 gone by the time he started bad mouthing any like the working class beneath him and everything like that because because it made me think he doesn't really appreciate finer things in life and everything. But but I heard that he was based off Henry Hill, which makes sense because if you looked up Henry Hill and Goodfellas and everything, he had the same qualities, admittedly. But I still like Video a bit, but I wouldn't say he's like a good sympathizing thing, the good one to sympathize with because he's really not. He decided to destroy his own family or friends just to join the mafia to get higher up into the ranks. So it's weird. I find him more sympathizing in the third game than I ever did in the first one, but I think it's because I never really, because really the third game never really got into what happened to him after between the second and third one, which I think was the best idea to do because of the fact that anything that could have happened to him was speculation, pretty much speculation. But those are my 2 cents. I know I'll probably get some flack for that, but that's what I think. I'll probably go more into that detail, but not today. And of course, another one is also another excellent Rockstar IP, but it's also like Mafia 2, finished but unfinished, and that, of course, being LA Noire. And as you can see, I have the complete edition and everything, which some people say, like, what's the difference between this and the Xbox One edition? Well, not really that much, actually. In fact, if anything, the Xbox One version, i.e., the PS4 version, is the complete edition. Yeah, despite not saying so, they really are. It's really the complete edition because the complete edition had only a few more cases and just a few more suits, which, by the way, the Xbox One already put in. And there's Cole there, more lovely and everything. Of course, I'm not really finished with this game yet. I just only finished the traffic case. Yes, I'm just starting on the other one. Which one was it? I forget. But I only finished the traffic case right now. And you can see this lovely artwork right here. That's one of the good things about having the Xbox 360 edition. I know some people like the PS3 edition because, as you can see, because the Xbox has 4 discs on it because it's a DVD technically, because the PS3 wasn't the one to have Blu-ray capabilities, so more storage. That's one of the good things about Blu-rays I liked about. That's why I have more Blu-rays than I do DVDs. But I mean, I like it because, like I said, the good artwork got me invested. And even when I switch discs, it's kind of getting annoying. It's not really a burden for me. And I don't really find it much of an annoyance because, because at least they have the decency to put all different um, like cases into each disc. Not almost every case, but they put more than one in the same disc, but because of space and everything. But yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. I like, do I like Cole Phelps more as a character? Well, like I said, a little bit, but not really, because we don't get to really know him in his personal life. We only see Cole, the detective, and everything, which is kind of sad because. But like I said, that was because they also ended up being rushed in production, but not by Rockstar, kind of. But I mostly blame Team Bondi production, because if you looked up behind the scenes, especially from that Mac Muscles dude, his What Happened series on L.A. Noire, man, you feel more sympathy for Team Bondi and Rockstar to an extent, because the guy who was in charge of the production, I think his name was McNamara, that was his last name. He really was like, really had a full ego and everything, treated his staff like shit and everything. It was an amazement that this game actually got finished and everything. That's kind of the sad thing, is because of the fact they focused too much on the missions and the attention to detail on their faces, which is pretty good. But no, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, they focus too much on it that there is no content to play on free roam. Like it's because aside from just a few police cases and everything to do, you really just drive around the city, just finding some collectibles. But by the time you're finished collecting them, there really is no reason to keep playing in free roam. In fact, anything. That's one of the reasons why people say the free roam was bare bones. If there's any bones besides the police things, but like I said, it's really not much really. But I wouldn't give my full review because I haven't finished it yet. But as of now, the story has me intrigued very much right now. And hold on right now. Hold on. Okay. The other one happens to be another Rockstar cousin is the one I told you about earlier, which is of course Max Payne 3. Like I said, my favorite out of all the ones because of the fact that, well, like Kane Lynch 2, it happens to be dirty. It shows the darker side of Brazil and everything. And like Max, we're just like a total stranger in a foreign land and everything. To the point that when they speak Brazil, the subtitles don't even bother translating what they're saying. And that's kind of the best things. Normal people will find that annoying. I find it works because of, like I said, the fact because like Max, we're in a strange world and not knowing what people are saying. Unless of course you're actually Spanish or speak or from Brazil and you'll understand thing they're saying. But I liked it more than the first two because of the fact that the story kept me actually more engaged. Gameplay was a bit more satisfying and everything, especially when they're using the Euphoria engine from GTA 4 and everything, which is like the best. And, I liked Max more in 3 than I did in the first two. Not saying I didn't like him, but I did. But I liked his personality a bit more, which some people didn't like because of the fact he became more sarcastic and everything. But I like feeling that's part of the charm, especially when he was getting older into his 50s and over the hill. Because I always feeling that's always what you become like, especially if you're like him. And as you can see right here, it has 2 discs because like L.A. Noire, the story was so massive they ended up putting it in 2 discs, split the chapters up in 2 discs. But unlike L.A. Noire, it's not much of a nuisance because the minute you finish the chapter with the first disc, it says you put in the second disc, which you do. And the best things about it is that it doesn't go back to your Xbox home screen when you put in the second disc. You just eject the button, use the eject button, and everything. Take it out, put it in, and guess what? It'll take you right back into the story with no interruptions or buffering and everything. Yeah, one of the most seamless loading screens I've ever seen. You almost never knew, in a way. But aside from that, yeah, it's the best, and it has one of the most. It has, the reason why I say it's controversial because the fact of that one line Max said about Mona Sachs was that during that funeral chapter, he was visiting his wife's and his child's graves. He said that he never forgave himself over the Mona situation, but he said it was just grief, which to me was my favorite line, explaining what happened in two, and why he was still grieving over his lost ones. Because some people didn't like it because it meant to think that he didn't really love Mona and everything in part two, even though that was the whole point of part two during their love for each other. Even though I don't think they were really in love, I think Max was just in love with the memory that Mona kept bringing back, because every time he looked at her eyes, he kept seeing his wife and his child's face, which is something he kept repeating in Max Payne 2 and everything. And I think that was the point. I think he was supposed to be just in love with the memory, not really in love with Mona Sachs. But I could be wrong. But at the same time, I like the way the Rockstar Games handle it, because it makes sense. Because in reality, he was only really in love with ever his wife and his child, which and when Mona died, his grief from his loved ones came back, and that's why he ended up being more miserable than ever, and that also on account of losing his job and everything. But that was one of the reasons why I liked the third game a bit more. That and the great soundtrack by Health, I think that's what they're called. They made a really, really good banging soundtrack. Yeah, sure, it's not as neat noir as the first two games, but I think that was always the point, because of the fact that, like I said, throughout the game, Max is always out of his element, not knowing what situation he is, not knowing what's going on. Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I liked it. I liked it for that. So yeah, my favorite one out of the bunch. Let's see, my other favorite one happens to be my favorite GTA game happens to be the one that was the first one in HD, which was GTA 4. I like GTA 4 a lot, like way more than any of the other games, even San Andreas, because it was the best one that actually had a great, fantastic story, fantastic main character Nico Bellic, fantastic side characters like Little Jacob, Patrick McCurry, his cousin Roman, Brucey. Yeah, and they were very, very great characters. The story had me guessing all the ways and what was happening. Like Miniko, I felt betrayal and honesty just around him and everything. And of course, I felt sympathy for him, despite him being kind of a sociopath, but he's aware of it, and you can tell he actually feels bad for what he does, but he has to do it because it's the only good thing he's good at, and the only thing that actually gives him real money, really, in the fact in the end, really. Like I said, the story and everything is fantastic. It has the best graphics, has the best use for the Euphoria engine, which was a new thing at the time, and it was really the best. And as you can see, I have the poster for Episodes of Earlier City, which I actually have it on disc. It's in the console right now. Yeah, it also comes with cards, gold trials, a guidebook. Back when they used to put in guidebooks, now they don't anymore. And of course a map too. Pretty good. Yeah, it ended up being. This is actually, like I said, my favorite one. One I like to play over and over, even though people say there's not really much to do in the game after, which is, yeah, to an extent it's true. There's not that much activities to do, unlike but episodes. Yeah, they end up putting more activities in the episodes of Liberty City, including in the Ballad Gaytone, to give you more stuff to do. At the day, I like GTA 4 more because of the grittiness. I end up feeling lonely in Liberty City, how much it's corrupt and everything. It's a pretty good game, pretty good. I like the best. Yeah, like the best. Next one happens to be the one that was also one of my childhood games. And that happens to be, of course, 5. The reason why it was my childhood, unlike 4, because I ended up playing this when I was 12 years old. As a kid, I ended up thinking this was the best Rockstar game ever. I mean, Rockstar Games game ever, but at the time I was only 12 years old, so anything that looked good was pretty much good to me. Granted, this version I didn't play as a kid. I played the Xbox 360 one, which was the first one I ever played on 360, really. And yeah, and something from the 360, man, looking back on the 360, I looked up the graphics back then, man. For the 360, it really held up and everything for something that was last gen and everything. But it didn't end up being as good as 4 because of the fact that, because like I said, not that much good character development, especially from these three: Franklin, Trevor, and Michael. But I think that's because of the fact they put up three characters and they didn't know what to do with them, because especially with the story, because the story felt so rushed in some extent, to the fact that that some things that were mentioned in the game get dropped very half-assed, or or when it becomes the whole thing, it ends up like just like ends up being just as a as like a whatever. I know some people say if you go in the car rides and hang out with each other, they talk about it more. But at the same time, the thing is with those car rides and hanging out, those are optional. And I always felt like they needed to put more into the main story than they ever did in the side content. Really, that's why in the story and the story suffers from too many villains, too many things happening at once, and like I said, not enough character development. Even though I think the game should have been longer, we would have appreciated it more. And the tonal compared to 4, it went from all the way from gritty from part 4 all the way back to what it was in the 3D games. Some people liked it. I would appreciate the new direction more than I would have in 4 than I would have in 5. But it was kind of a disappointment. Looking back, it was more of a bigger disappointment for me because of the fact that I kept lying to myself when I was like 12 years old, thinking like this was the best game until I was like turned 14, 15, I think. I bought 4 for the first time ever, and I never looked back after that because, like I said, the fourth one happens to be the best game. Yeah, it really is the best for the fourth one, that is. But 5, and the only thing good it has standing out really is just the graphics, really. And even though in the Xbox Series X, which said it promised more, in reality it never did. It never did promise a lot, really. And to the point that the fact that it's just like ended up being real disappointment. And you can say 5 was the reason why Rockstar became the way it was, because ever since they reintroduced GTA Online and microtransactions became a big deal for them, it's just like there was a reason why GTA 6 came out as a long time. But here's hoping GTA 6 will be better and be good and be better and good. So let's hope for that. He'll have the story of 4 or having the graphics of 5, which no doubt it will, but hopefully the story will be way better, significantly better. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna have to leave you right there for a moment. My phone is running out of storage, so I'll see you in the next part. Hopefully, it will be short. Hopefully, in a short while. So, thanks and have a good day. And yeah,